the average person, I'll say, in the middle class of our lifetime has never had to go without.
Because obviously I think there's good aspects of rich dad, right? But there's good aspects of poor dad too.
Being average doesn't necessarily afford you an average lifestyle anymore. We're not in the same economic climate that we once were.
I literally lived in a closet and paid $130 in rent. So now I'd say I'm a recovering freaking, like if I could teach anybody anything.
Be able to offer that to our kids, I feel like it's getting harder and harder. Do you think we're going to have a lot of job loss from AI? So I don't view low interest rates as a very good thing, but that's just my take.
I don't believe it's my first time on the podcast. I was alluded to before about that friend that told you about Bitcoin. So
Yep. We have mentioned you.
That's the reason I came on the show. Just say I told you so.
Just like Jordan with Gold, Resident Gold Bug.
Well, guys, this is our friend Michael. You can pretty much thank Michael for this whole thing because he got Vern started on Bitcoin. Michael, why don't you tell the audience about yourself?
Hey, I'm Michael. I was trying to get Vern to buy Bitcoin for years, and finally he's orange pilled. But I'm a commercial real estate broker. I've been doing that for about 12 years, and I enjoy investing on the side, sometimes profitably. And been orange pilled for a while, and just like talk all things money. So happy to be on the show.
It was a slow, painful process. It took a long time to orange pill me. I'm a very contrarian or skeptical thinker. It takes a long time to convince me. I guess persistence pays off.
There's always the eighth buy in that.
I've also taken a lot of money from Vern in poker, but
he likes to think he has.
and Nick.
I don't know. There's that plywood board that has evidence.
We just keep track. Yeah.
We've played a lot of cards over at least the last decade, and there's many a times that the first hand it was always me and Michael all in on the first hand. Yeah, just to set the pace.
Vern thinks I'm a gambler, but I would say I'm not a gambler because it's not gambling if you know you're going to win. That's how I see poker with him, and that's how I see most of my investments too. Even though he thinks I have a high risk tolerance.
I've alluded in the past on previous episodes, I've got friends with high risk tolerances. Like if they can't lose all their money, they're not interested. That'd be Michael. Today's overarching theme is going to be why it's important to get started in 2026. Ultimately, getting started in the present is always the most important, not waiting. There seems to be a growing wealth divide between the middle class and the upper class. And it seems like the longer you wait, the more difficult that's going to get. The goal is to get off zero.
Yeah, especially being a new year, it's a good topic to discuss.
I've been talking about buying a duplex for the last 600 years, so.
Do it. What's stopping you?
Nothing. I'm hoping to actually have my eye on one. I was emailing a bank today. We talked about this duplex before, and then I said it didn't pan out. I don't want to jinx it. Because I've had a second shot at this. But that is my goal for this year, is to kind of get off zero in that aspect. I've hit my Bitcoin goal. I have money in other assets. Having a rental is really high, or real estate in general, I should say, is pretty high on my list for 2026. And that's kind of the overarching theme today, is just getting off zero. I've been talking about it for a long time. We're starting to see a widening of the gap between the middle class and the upper class. And the longer you wait, the harder everything gets.
Just look at Bitcoin, for instance. Michael was preaching to us.
Yeah.
How many years ago?
He was trying to convince me to buy it at 30, 60 grand, whatever it was.
Cheaper than that.
Yeah, I don't know.
30, 60, 65, 75, 85, 95, yeah.
It's been for a long time. And then I got off zero, but.
Yeah, it just always gets harder.
It does. I mean, I think it can be daunting too. It can be a lot easier to just put your head in the sand and keep swiping the credit card and not saving and just think, well, the government or someone will take care of me in the future. But you got to face it.
Whether people realize it or not, I think a lot more people have that perception than most people would admit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I talk about that a lot with some other people, and it just doesn't sit well with me. I like to take control and create the future, versus just wait and see what happens, or thinking it'll just work out. Well, it might, but it might not work out to your advantage.
Right. Just look at the housing market. Everyone thought it was going to crash, and here we are.
Yeah. If you just keep waiting till the housing market crashes to buy a house, maybe you'll get one someday. It'll go up 400% and come down 50.
But I don't think most people think like that. No. I think most people are financially illiterate. That's why all the billionaires are making money. They're spending money on coffee. I drove a mile down the road, right? And how many coffee shops are there within?
There's tons.
Yeah,
And
2
they're putting
Starbucks
more.
and two Dunkin' within a mile.
It is kind of astonishing. It seems like what it costs to go there for 1 or 2 people to get coffee. I don't know. It's probably just my mindset, but it seems like just yesterday, like 1 or 2 people could go get food for that, and now it's like 1 drink, and it just seems so. I don't know.
I was at Costco today too, and that's just a money pit. And
I love Costco.
yeah.
Is it? I haven't been yet, and Jordan's been
Really?
Yeah, pushing.
Oh, yeah, we had a membership when we first got married around our wedding, and it was great then. We let it lapse for years and kind of mooched off other people that had memberships because I just hate the idea of paying to shop.
Yeah.
But finally conceded because it's worth it.
For those who haven't been to Costco, the best way I could describe it is like,
Deals and hot dogs.
yeah, now outside of that is like in-person Amazon, but the stuff there isn't junk. Like all the stuff's pretty decent quality.
Well,
It's
that's
like
what got
anything
me.
and everything you could want is there for the most part.
That's what got us too, because we try to eat pretty clean, and it's actually nice that like half the products it feels like are organic, have good quality ingredients, and you can't find that anywhere else. And you go to your normal grocery store, and it's work to go through to find anything that's edible. But just it's that mentality too of like people just buy stuff because they want it, and it's that Costco mentality, that coffee shop mentality. And obviously, you guys know I'm on the extreme of like miserly, don't spend anything.
It's true.
Like put everything you have because that could double in a few years if you put it into Bitcoin or Tesla.
I would say I have a tremendous amount of discipline, and I do find it hard going to Costco to not walk out with like a $200 bill. It's just so easy to spend money there. It really is. The one drawback is a lot of stuff you have to buy in bulk. Not everything, but a lot of things are in bulk. It's very easy to make that justification, though. That's exactly it. Is if it's stuff you are likely going to buy anyway, it's really hard not to buy it there because you're like, I'm going to buy it anyway, especially if it doesn't expire. Like if you have room to store toilet paper, it's like, well, if this is 25% off, it is wherever else I shop. Like it's hard not to just buy it now and store the rest.
Or just get a bidet. There's your financial tip for the week. They're fantastic, and you'll never be as clean.
Do you have one?
We did. We had some toilet problems and had to replace our toilet, and the plumber took it off. It was broke. I got to get a new one.
Was it there when you moved in, or did you guys put it in?
We put it on.
Interesting.
It was a cheap one.
I never knew that.
Spend a little more.
All right, can you get back to this deficit here between the upper and middle class?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think is the difference between most of them? Is it work ethic? Is it how much they save or how much they spend?
Gosh, I
Having a financial plan?
I think the largest reason in my mind is, I'll say like herd mentality. You kind of hear this about investing as well too. We've talked about previously like the AI bubble. And if everyone invests the same way, and then if the market takes a turn, like nobody really bats an eye. It's like, well, I don't really regret that because that's what everyone was doing. But you get people like Michael Burry, and they're shorting something. And when he's wrong, everyone just comes down on him hard. So I think a lot of it's herd mentality. It's like, if I can't afford to eat, then everyone else in the middle class can't afford to eat. And it's like, someone will save us.
What do you think, though, Michael?
No, I agree. I think that's a good point. But we get used to what's comfortable, and we get used to, like when you go to the grocery store and there's just always food, you just always expect there always to be food at Costco or the grocery store, wherever you shop. And there might not be, or it might be more expensive than you can buy. And, I'm a little bit of a prepper.
Yeah. I think
so. You don't have to go that extreme, but I think that self-reliance is good.
I wouldn't call myself a prepper, but if I had a home and not an apartment, there's definitely things I would have extra of in case of hardship, for sure. I would say most people, the average person, I'll say, in the middle class of our lifetime has never had to go without things.
Yeah.
Like food or shelter. I mean, there are obviously exceptions in every country, but collectively, we haven't gone through like the Great Depression eras or had it, not been food in grocery stores unless it was COVID. Well, then there's more about toilet paper, I guess, than anything. But.
Yeah. I think that's good for people, though, to a degree. We've talked a little bit about that before at different times with our kids. And, do we want, let's say we have wealth, how do we want to share that with them? What do we want their experience to be? Because obviously I think there's good aspects of rich dad, right? But there's good aspects of poor dad too. And yeah, how do we get them to work hard, to be frugal, and also not have a scarcity mentality.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think it is very crucial to have some degree of adversity in your life. I think a lot of people that have truly started with very little or nothing and become wildly successful have experienced some kind of adversity in their life, and they have some kind of scarcity mindset. I think people that are given things, they just don't have that level of appreciation, and that's not a new topic by any means. Everyone's kind of probably agrees with that to some extent, but experiencing some adversity really puts things into perspective, I think. And I think a lot of people don't have enough adversity. I mean, we've talked about it on this channel, the lack of prosperity, but at the end of the day, we all pretty much have cars and homes and food, and there's a lot of other parts of the world that don't have that.
Exactly, yeah. Poverty's, you have one car instead of two, and you still have a microwave and a refrigerator.
Yeah, and food.
Yeah.
It's very true. We are pretty fortunate. It seems more now than ever that being average doesn't necessarily afford you an average lifestyle anymore. It seems our parents' generation, or we'll say baby boomer generation, you could get a relatively mundane job and come out pretty well and retire and live a normal life, house, kids. I don't know if that's going to be the case for much longer.
Yeah, so what are you going to do about it? Because I think so often it's easy to complain about the boomers, complain about everybody, but what are we going to do? You know, I had a kid's friend call me the other day, just graduated high school and, you know, doesn't want to go to college. You know, what should we suggest to him? You know, he was curious about real estate and what I was doing and if there's possibilities there.
It always used to be working and saving got you where you needed to be. And then after that, it was working and putting money in a 401 got you where you needed to be. And I don't think that's going to be the case for much longer. I think investing in yourself or investing in other avenues, assets and stuff, I'll call it, are going to lead to more prosperity than just working hard. The whole work hard, get ahead mentality to some extent is somewhat broken. If you work hard, there's no guarantee that you're going to get ahead by any means. I really think if you want to not decline, you need to start doing what rich people do. And they make uncomfortable decisions. They buy real estate. They invest in certain assets. They don't talk about opening a business or starting a business. They do it. And I think ultimately a lot of it is just the decisions that they make and how they choose to live their lives. I'll say our parents' generation, we kind of were the industrial country, and we're not anymore. And I could go on and on about that. I mean, it brought us a lot of prosperity, but also in the same sense, after, you know, World War II and we decimated every other continent and they didn't have any factories and everything was just rubble. I mean, it's kind of hard not to be the most prosperous country. But we're in a global market now. I mean, just about everything in this room came from another country, it seems. I mean, probably even the paint on the wall. So it's not, we're not in the same economic climate that we once were of that generation. That doesn't mean you can't be successful, but I think the tactics that are going to get you there have changed.
I think this would be a good time to ask, when did your investing journey start, Michael, and how did you get ahead so early?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think growing up, my parents were very, they taught me a lot. They definitely had more of the mentality of the poor dad, where it was just work hard, save. I feel like they taught me a lot about compound interest, but there was a little bit more of a scarcity mindset there. So I think in early high school, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Obviously, that changed it a lot. But for a long time, I didn't make any money, so I just didn't spend any money. And I just learned how to live off of nothing. So I think that was important for me because I was willing to do things even when I started to get money to just not spend. I literally lived in a closet and paid $130 in rent for years. That included Wi-Fi and everything. So I had access to the whole house, but I was willing to do stuff like that and invest all my money, realizing that time value of money, it would double, it would triple, and that really set me up well. But I went through a lot of times where I did without, some of them were awkward. Like there's plenty of times where I went out to eat and I just didn't get anything, or I just wouldn't spend money. And I was fortunate. People gave me a lot of stuff. I joked about being a freegan, like when eating. So now I'd say I'm a recovering freegan, where I just eat what's free. Now I'm on the opposite end, eating everything organic, and it's just ridiculous how much we spend on food, where I spend literally nothing. Because I think that's actually an investment, right? In 30 years, hopefully I'm not going to be, in 10 years, needing to go to the doctor because I'm taking that responsibility for myself now. It's amazing what you can do without and how little you can actually live on. And a little pain now, especially when you're single, now having, a family, it's a lot more fun to have money. Yeah. And you want to spend it more.
It's not just
right?
about you anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I could have had flashy cars and nice things when I was young, but I'd much rather have, the ability for my wife to stay at home or to spend money on my kid in the future too. So I think the biggest thing, to answer your question, that my parents taught was just, again, the value of saving and the value of investing. And that was just drilled into me, of delayed gratification with money. Like, if I could teach anybody anything about money, that'd be that. And to realize you'll be better off in the future.
I would say my upbringing has had parallel jurors in a lot of ways. My parents worked really hard, saved a lot of money. They've done well for themselves, I would say. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can save your way into prosperity anymore.
If you mean in dollars, I'd agree. You can't save your way in dollars to prosperity. But I do think it's still possible to save your way and be fine. I think it's just your expectations too of what is prosperity.
I think that's just it though, is when you say you can save your way into prosperity, I feel like there's so much sacrifice up front that you're not really saving your way into prosperity per se. Like, you're just delaying gratification. So like if you give up a lot of things to have a normal, comfortable lifestyle, if you have to get rid of a lot of those things to have prosperity in the future, I don't think you're really prosperous per se.
Yeah, that's a great point. What's prosperous? How do you define what's your goal? Is it just to be able to retire at 40?
Well, I think ultimately it's different for everybody, but I would like to retire early, and it's not just because I don't want to work. It's like I'd rather focus on other things in life. Like, I'd be able to spend time with my family, donate, volunteer, donate money. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do in life. Like, how many times do you find yourself talking about, oh, I wish I could do this, or I'd do that, or I'd always love to learn how to play the guitar. And that's like, if you work all week and you spend time with the kids, and it's like, there's not really much time to live life, I would say. Most people are so busy.
I would say work is more satisfying though. Like, even what you mentioned is like being with the kids, learning the guitar, learning a habit, all those things are work, right? And the aspects of them are play, right? But playing the guitar is, enjoyable, but it takes work to get there.
It's not so much work. It's just not having to go to work for an income to survive.
So is it just freedom that you want more than anything?
Absolutely.
You just don't want to be dependent.
I think we've shaped ourselves into a box where we spend so much of our time just working to pay taxes and working to provide shelter, and we've had so much lifestyle creep that everyone's just like trapped in the rat race or on the hamster wheel. And I don't think we're truly as happy as the people as we could be. Or at least looking back to what I envisioned my parents' upbringing was, I feel like things were a lot different. Or even the way I was brought up. There's definitely some bias in that, because running around as a kid and enjoying stuff and experiencing things was great when you didn't have any financial stress because you never paid any bills. But
yeah, I mean,
to be able to offer that to our kids, I feel like it's getting harder and harder.
Well, there's a lot of aspects that go into that too. You're talking about like running around and stuff, but I mean, screens are probably a big portion of that too. Like, how much has technology brought our current society to where it's at right now?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I guess it's just, how do you define happiness too, and what's your goal in life is a big thing too. It's like some of the happiest people I know are not rich, but they're happy with what they're doing. They're happy with their family. I mean, you can be miserable and have no family and rich. I mean, we all know that and have many examples of that. But I was actually just thinking about this today, listening to a podcast, the benefits of a woman staying at home, especially in the first 3 years of marriage. And on one hand, we talk about making money now can double, triple in the future. So it's hard to not make money now, especially, to not have two incomes, but it's what are you investing in? And she was just sharing so many stats on how important it is for all these, disorders and anxiety. And it's like, well, that's an investment there into your kids, future by staying home. And that's just like one way to be prosperous, right? Of having healthy kids that are, functioning and contributing to society. And I had a pretty bad loss about a year and a half ago in the financial world. And I think that made me refocus and not just measure everything monetarily. I think for so long, I just measured everything of, all right, it's good if I'm making money. It's bad if I'm losing money. With that, I think I missed out on a lot of opportunities too, whether it's taking a vacation with my wife or, just spending money to get back some time.
Ultimately, for prosperity for me, I think it's just time freedom. Like, I think about all the things I could be doing with my life. And then if you spend that much time at work, it's hard to do those other things you talk about without sacrificing, say, time with your wife. It's like everything ultimately is a sacrifice. And if the largest chunk of your time spent at work, it doesn't leave a lot of extra time to do anything or achieve the things you want to achieve in life. Say, like learning how to play guitar. Like if it's between that and spending time with your wife, like there's a sacrifice somewhere. So if you get that some or most of that time back from work.
So what do you want to do right now that work is keeping you from?
I wouldn't say right now it's keeping me from anything. It's in the future. Like I just have like a severe amount of like time anxiety. I don't want to be 72 and working because I have to pay rent because I didn't buy a house or something. Like I don't want to be paying a mortgage when I'm 70. Like I want to spend time with my grandkids. I don't want to work till my health deteriorates. Like the work I do it will kill you like over time. It just is what it is. And I just don't want to be doing that stuff when I'm older. So I'd love to have the freedom to, if I wanted to go to a kid's game or my grandkids game or spend time with family. There's just so many other things I feel like I could find myself doing than working. And it's later in life.
I feel like anxiety has been brought up a couple of times here, and I'm glad it's been brought up. I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to consider when taking into account prosperity, what your tolerance of anxiety is, and like where your head is at around it. I mean, for you, for instance, like the future is the biggest part that you're anxious about, and maybe for you, Michael, the family, the quality of life with your family. So really take a look inside and what makes you feel anxious and how can you balance that with work.
It helps you prioritize things also. My time anxiety comes from, like you said, the compounding interest and investments take time. And if I don't do things now, it's like that's time loss. That could be deriving value. And ultimately, I just think of so many things you could do with your life. Like if people didn't work as much, it's just our culture. But if we didn't work as much, I feel like more people would volunteer. I feel like there's a lot of other things people could find to do with their time than going to work to buy a TV or, whatever we spend our money on.
Yeah, we're them 4-day work weeks. I feel like, wasn't there a country that just switched to 4-day work weeks?
Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that's prosperous?
I do, actually.
I would say for sure.
I don't think most people are going to spend their time in a way that's actually going to be better.
No, but they would be more productive at work while they're at work.
It depends how many hours you're working.
Maybe.
That's true too.
Yeah, but why? Is it the person? Is it what they did the night before? Is it because, they're not sleeping because they watch Netflix and that's what they want to do on Friday anyways?
That's a great point.
Or, their intake of food, alcohol, drinks.
Well, I would say your demographic of work, you've always been on a performance-based pay and not everyone else is. So when they go to work, I mean, what's the incentive? If you can get away with putting in 20% on Friday, why are you putting in 120%? Like, what are you going to get from it? So I think that has a large part to do with that.
Do you think that's always going to be a thing, especially with AI? Like, are they going to measure productivity better?
I think they always do in different ways. I think companies are always looking at those metrics, and obviously everything is always trying to be more efficient and refine and move forward. So probably yes. And I think a lot of the mundane tasks are going to go away, or the low value add stuff. And I don't see a problem with that, honestly.
What you mentioned about people's life choices, though, I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon, even with AI.
Well, it's not going to change unless there's something that's uncomfortable that makes them change.
Like losing their job to AI.
Yeah, like losing their job. Yeah. Or to somebody else that wants it, that's going to work harder.
Do you think we're going to have a lot of job loss from AI?
I think it'll be gradual. It's not going to be as much as people think, but I don't know.
I would agree with that. I don't think the AI adoption and the widespread use is going to be as light switch as some people think. I don't think we're all of a sudden in 2 years going to lose 25% of the workforce. And if that is the case and the adoption is relatively slow, we won't experience a lot of job loss. They're not going to replace jobs. It's going to be, you didn't use AI before, and now you use AI to do your job more effectively. So independent of AI, Trump's pushing really hard to get interest rates down. What are your thoughts? Is that good or bad?
I'm a little bit more of a libertarian, as you know. So,
and this isn't about politics by any
Burn
means. It's
it
just
all.
what's happening. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not talking about for the government by any means, but what about the middle class?
I'm not counting on the government to do anything. That's my philosophy.
No, but their
So,
decisions do impact your life.
They do. Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's where you got to be prepared for it, right? I'd say as part of prepping, you want to be prepared for any situation. So it's not just, end of the world or, the internet goes out and everything with it, but it's, maybe inflation, maybe it's hyperinflation, or maybe it's interest rates go up and there's a housing crash. And
when we experience low interest rates, we oftentimes see asset prices rise. So I don't necessarily think it's good. I actually view it as bad for I'll say for the middle class. If asset prices rise, like that sounds great and the number goes up. So say the imaginary house is worth $250 and it goes to $350. That's great, but does it put any more money in your pocket? No. If you wanted to go buy another house, you're just spending that much more on the next house. So if you don't own some kind of asset that you can monetize, it really isn't of any benefit to you. And typically everything swells as a whole. So ultimately, if the number goes up, you're just losing buying power.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the people that own all the assets,
can refinance.
Say you're like a person like us and you own 10 different rentals, that person will benefit. But if you just have a W-2 job in a 401, it doesn't really do you much good.
Yeah,
it's the people at the top that benefit the most from low interest rates. And I'm not saying we should have high interest rates, but everyone thinks low interest rates, like, well, would that make a house more affordable? I feel like we just saw this over the last 5 years. If you have low interest rates, what happens to the price of the house?
Yeah,
it doesn't stay the same.
Right.
The house price goes up. And not only that, if you buy a house and you want to move later, it's very difficult to move when you have a 2.75 interest rate and your family's grown, or you want to take a job somewhere else if you needed to move, and now interest rates are 7%. You kind of lose a lot of mobility there. So I don't view low interest rates as a very good thing, but that's just my take.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that earlier, how the frivolous expendable items have become really cheap, right? Whether it's a TV or anything plastic, right? It's just anything. Consumables, so cheap. But the necessities, housing, food, those are all becoming more expensive, and how that makes it just a challenge.
And to circle back also about saving into prosperity, I'll just use myself as an antidote here. If you didn't previously buy a home and you want to now, if you've been saving and waiting to buy a home, the amount of money you can save every year versus what the housing market's done in the last, call it 5 years, which in our area is doubled, you can't save your way and outrun that. And that's what I mean by not being able to save your way into prosperity. It's like you could have lived in a closet and ate crackers and not spend a nickel on it. You've been a freegan, and that really didn't get you any closer to a house. You're further behind than you started, and that's really not up to your control. And that's where a lot of my anxiety comes from, is not being in control. If I work real hard and I save all my money, there's not a ton outside of that I can do or have any control in the situation. So one of my big pushes in the near term future is cash flowing assets, and real estate's a big one for me, is I'd like to add real estate and have a rental for that reason.
Yeah, that's great. And that's where it's frustrating that the government, when they manipulate interest rates, when they print money, that it affects us. That now I'm making decisions that I normally wouldn't have done. That now we're saying, well, we should have bought a bigger house because it would have appreciated more. Not because I needed more or I wanted to spend that much.
Right.
But in hindsight, the government manipulated our money and our standard. So I should actually spend my money today faster because it's going to be worth more. I can buy more.
It's very true.
Which I think is obviously antithetical to financial prosperity in the long term.
I agree with you. It seems like the people that it almost rewards bad behavior.
Exactly.
It's like consumerism is what keeps this whole thing going.
Want.
I've kind of been turned off by the market because valuations of companies and stuff has just kind of gone out the window. And it's basically just if you don't put your money in to some vehicle, I'll call it the stock market, like you're just behind.
Right. But where are you going to put your money to? It's like, we know saving it, you're going to lose money. You can put it just in the market. And like you said on one of the previous episodes, that's all overinflated. Nobody's thinking about the 495th company and thinking, oh, I want to put, $72 in it. It's just that's their allocation. So, that's where I came up with my answer to that, and millions of other people, was Bitcoin.
I think Bitcoin's always a good vehicle long term. Outside of that as well, investing is important. I just have less interest now in the market than I have in the past. And I think mostly is just because the market's kind of been a relief valve for inflation more than anything. Real estate pricing has gone up, but ultimately you're still buying the same property more or less you did 5 years ago. And if we experience low interest rates again, I think the value of those properties will go up, not down. So my bet is that we're going to see appreciation in real estate. It may not be ton and it may be flat, and I'm fine with that versus a contraction. So I think real estate's a good one. And I think also investing in yourself. If you don't know where else to put your money, I'd put it in yourself, whether it's classes or making the move to physically or geographically to an area that has more opportunity. If you're smack dab in the middle of, I don't want to pick it up, Indiana. Everyone hates Indiana. If you move to central Indiana and there's no opportunity there, maybe it's not a bad idea to move somewhere else that there's more opportunity.
What's wrong with Indiana?
I don't know. I just had to pick on somebody.
Go Pacers.
Yeah, no, I think real estate is great. It's interesting because Bitcoin is a little bit antithetical to like who I am and my philosophy in a lot of ways, even though it aligns with what I want. Obviously being in real estate, and real estate is where I think my long-term goals are. You're never going to make more. I don't really want digital things, even though I believe it's going to be a great investment for now. My plan was always to turn that into real estate for just the benefits that you've talked about before.
So do you have anything outlined for 2026 other than things you would do anyway? Like obviously you're going to continue at your job. It sounds like you're happy at your job. Do you have any other benchmarks or goals? I know you're not focusing on monetary stuff, but do you have any plans?
I mean, financially, yeah, just get more Satoshis. So like as quick as I can.
Is real estate on the horizon for you?
That's a good question. I'm constantly thinking about that every day. I can just put this money in today, whether it's, $1,000 or $100,000, or I can save up until I have an amount that I can go purchase real estate that I can now leverage and only put down a certain amount, and that I'll have to actually manage and take on risk and think about, or I can just buy Bitcoin and put that away.
That's kind of where I was at when I started buying Bitcoin as well. That's what turned me onto Bitcoin also, ultimately, is just the social construct. I trust the people in this room more than I do the Fed or the government making decisions. I mean, ultimately, there's so many other factors that impact your future. Peter Drucker actually said the best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's kind of what I live by to some extent, is like I'd like to create my own, be in charge of creating my own future than just going to work and putting some money in an account and hoping it's enough someday.
No, I think that's great. And that's why I think buying Bitcoin is doing that. It's part of that philosophy. It's contributing to what I believe is financial freedom, to not reliance on the government's system. And that's true in real estate too, of providing a house for somebody, a home to live. And I think a lot of people get down on landlords of they're just greedy and this or that. And it's, well, they're providing a home, somewhere to stay. What else would you do if there wasn't a landlord? If you're renting, like, you're going to be homeless?
There's definitely two sides of that coin, because they say, well, the home still exists. And it's like, well, if you could afford it, you would have bought it.
Yeah. Right. And then you'd have to maintain it. And when
Take
there's
on the
capital
risk.
expenditure, you have to pay for it. Yeah. I think we should reward that. And I think that's a great thing too, for people to be landlords. Back to what we were talking about before, of there's a million ways to make money. And what do you want to see? Like, I think it's a good thing that people are in houses and not on the streets. So if I can buy a house and rent it out to somebody, I think that's being a productive, contributing part of society. So between that and buying Bitcoin.
Well, you can turn single family homes into like duplexes as well, uppers and lowers. So if somebody, couldn't afford that house, they might be able to afford to rent half the house. It's like, that's another avenue to derive value. I think it's paramount to filter out the noise and take into consideration who's voicing their opinion and what impact that may have on your future. There's a lot of people out there that are, I'll say, all big hat and no cattle. They'll have an opinion about something, but they don't have any experience on the topic. And Nick and I have talked about this on the last episode. Everyone you talk to that you tell you might be interested in buying a rental, and they're all like, oh my God, the roof's, it's going to burn down. You're going to trash it. Everyone has like a horror story where you're going to have to take phone calls at 2 a.m. all the time. And typically that's not the case.
I think it goes back to that mentality that we were talking about before. That's a good point. Yeah, it's easy to criticize, and those are the same people, door dashing and that are going to be working for the rest of their life and they're going to be poor. But again, I know that I'm on the extreme end. I think a few years ago I think I made $6,000 that year, and I was door dashing, and I door dashed $2 Quick Trip cheese breads for like $12 to some girl. And it's like I probably made like $6, and again I was making $100,000 that year. I didn't need the money, but it was fun to me, and I realized I could put that in Solana and I can triple it, so or lose it all. But
this is not investing advice.
Yeah, it is. Buy Bitcoin.
Oftentimes, family and friends, they'll have this guise, or they'll project their own, I'll call it doubts or insecurities, onto people they care about, in hopes that they'll avoid risks or something, potentially bad could happen to them. Again, back to the rentals. If you tell, say, your parents, and they're like, "Oh, it's a terrible idea. You could lose all your money."
I think a lot of times when people give excuses for why things won't work, they want to give an excuse for their laziness of, "Oh, well, what about the toilet that's leaky, or the call at 2 a.m?" They want to find a reason that they're not doing it. And it's too hard. And maybe they really don't want to do that, and they don't want to deal with the headache of somebody paying off their debt and, owning an asset in 30 years. But people just don't want to be responsible, I think.
I really like that outlook. It reminds me of a quote I saw online, and it was just that my worst case scenario is just your current scenario. So if I fail taking these risks, I just work a 9 to 5 and invest in my 401k, and that's my life. But if I succeed,
if there's nothing ventured, there's nothing gained. I think taking personal responsibility is paramount. I think you have to have some kind of atlas or guide to the plan where you want to end up, like ultimately what kind of future you want to have and what your definition of prosperity is. I think everyone needs to take some personal accountability. And, is this risk we're taking, or do I just want to live I'll call it a comfortable life, even though they're not very comfortable, but minimal effort where it's 9 to 5 and that's it. Is that going to get you where you want to be?
Because I think it's actually worse to be poor than it is good to be rich. I was just thinking about that when you were talking, and how I think being rich is good, and that's fine. I think there's a lot of actually terrible things that can come with it, and loneliness and, worries and whatever. I mean, yeah, that's just clear. Like you look at any celebrity, any lottery winner, there's a lot of risks in it. But I certainly don't want to be poor, because that comes with a whole lot of troubles, especially if you have a family. I think most people are fine, statistically, and just from what I'm talking to, most people would be fine if they're, middle class. So that's kind of goes back to what we were talking about before of, will that be a possibility, and what can the majority of people do, given inflation, AI, all the other challenges, just to be middle class in America? You're going to be fantastic, right? You're going to have a happy life. You're going to be able to take care of your kids. You're going to be able to do whatever you want primarily. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You can buy whatever you want. Now, you might not be able to have a yacht, but you can have a boat, right? You might not be able to mansion, but you can have a pretty nice house. So
when you said being rich comes with its disadvantages, I would challenge the thought that being rich could contribute to being lonely. I think a lot more people in present day America get divorced over financial stress than rich people do from being lonely or not spending enough time at home. I think there's a far higher divorce rate in those who spend poorly, argue over money, than those who take risks and have their goals aligned and try to become more well off.
I don't see the correlation.
He's pushing back on the idea that there's downsides. I guess maybe a better word would have been there's downsides to being rich.
Yeah, he's saying like oftentimes being rich will lead you to being lonely. Like you spend too much time at work and you get divorced.
Well, I'm not saying necessarily just that, but I think, I've seen it myself. It's like, it's so easy if you just measure everything in money. It's like, at the end of the day, money doesn't matter. And, what is really going to change about your life substantially if you have money? Like, any stuff you have, and I get it's financially focused, and you guys know, like, I enjoy investing and being financially prosperous. And again, we talked about this a year and a half ago when I had a, six-figure loss, and that really hurt. And I had some, come to Jesus moment there, literally. And it just makes you think of like, all right, what's going to be different about my life? If I had however much money, if I didn't have to worry about money. And the reality is most of us are rich and
It is a perception thing, because I think you do live well under your means, and not everyone does. And it's easy to just say, well, spend less money or just be happy with less. But a lot of people aren't wired that way.
I don't think most people are going to be happy though if they have wealth. If you're not happy when you're poor, you're not going to be happy when you're rich.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but you're say you're also put into the position where two people work, both of them combined don't make much money, and they have kids. Money provides them, life and shelter and everything else, and they have to work 60 hours a week each. So I think more money would dramatically benefit them if all of a sudden one could stay home and the other worked 40 hours a week versus both parents working 60 hours a week.
Yeah,
so it's not ultimately about being rich, but not everyone is a comfortable middle class, I would say.
Right.
If you're bottom middle of the class, I mean, you're putting in probably a lot of hours and you don't get to spend the time with your kids that you'd like to, or you have to send it to some daycare you'd rather not.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying. It's terrible to be poor. It's not amazing to be rich. Like I don't think it's as good as everybody thinks.
I would agree with that to some extent.
It
gives you options.
Cliche. Though. Oh yeah, absolutely. And you give money, and you can again set your kids up, and
or the wife stay home.
The wife stay. Absolutely. I'm just talking about extreme wealth too, I guess necessarily. So I want everybody to be financially free. Like if you have debt, if you're not rich, you have burdens, and I don't think people should be stressed or have burdens, and I don't want that for my friends and family. So I think that's kind of like the main goal that I'm pushing now to, again, if I have, where my financial journey has changed a little bit more of like, all right, everything I'm measuring is just like, what's my net worth? And when you watch that dwindle very quickly, it's like, all right, what does that say about me? So it's pretty easy to walk around a little bit more confidently if you have more money, and to be a little bit happier when you check your bank account or your net worth. But
I like the way you spun it though. I mean, the show may be called Financially Focused, but Vern and I don't want mansions and yachts.
Yeah, no, I know.
We're really just trying to buy
time
freedom.
Preference.
Yeah, right, time. Exactly.
So I think we're all on the same page here, and you summed it up really well.
Right. And I think the tough thing about that is you almost need money to live
normally.
Normally, but like a poor person would have for a long time of like, you just want to own, 20 acres and a farm and, not a mega farm, just like a homestead. And well, if you have that, like, well, that's going to be $1 million, right? Like,
at least.
Yeah, at least just for like, and maybe you can find it a little bit less, but certainly if you want to be in any county that we're in, right? If I don't want to be 5 hours away from my family,
or job opportunities. I mean, homesteading's one thing, but also, I do want to work, and you have to be able to provide some kind of income, because ultimately you got to pay a tax bill at the end of the year. That's kind of the way I view things too. Is like when I grew up and like what I had as a kid, and like. That's why I want to have an abundance of resources so I can provide that same upbringing for my kids. Because if you just work your 9 to 5 and have an average job, I'd say, you can't afford what we did growing up.
No, I think that's a good point, and maybe you can elaborate on what you had growing up. But I guess that's what I want to provide for my kids too. And it's not necessarily just like this wealth, but it's an experience where, again, it's living off the land. And again, maybe you have a job, but it's not just like living in suburbia and boring, EMFs and everything else around. So, but that's expensive. Like, again, just to live, I feel like it's more expensive today to live like you would live 100 years ago than it is today, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Because now it's like, well, I just want, to go to the store and get some blueberries. Well, do you want the ones that were sprayed with glyphosate? Well, that's an extra charge. It's like, well, I don't want them, like, I just want normal, food, or anything in between, right? I just want, I don't want everything to be plastic. And it's like, oh, well, if you want the wood version, that'll be like 37, times extra. Or it's like, I don't want to wear plastic on my, so, that's kind of what I was alluding to before.
That hits the nail on the head for me, because that's what I want to provide for my kids. Is the same opportunities and experiences I had growing up, but it costs more to do it now than it used to.
Exactly.
And doing the average won't get you that average anymore. Like, I didn't grow up well off by any means, like not rich at all. I feel like I had a very average upbringing, and to provide that takes more resources than it did back then.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's getting ahead to me. And
Yeah.
prosperity.
Exactly. That's prosperity that I would say I'm chasing in this life too.
Have you ever rewatched a recording of yourself and realized you say, like, and yeah, far too much? Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, please. Have you seen my phone?
Wasn't it like right in front of you?
Yeah.